All right, welcome to The Boost, conversations with people promoting mental health. And I'm here with Kristin Meador, CPA, who is the CEO and founder of Gradient Accounting. Kristin, did I get all that right? And how are you?
You got it all right. Perfect. I'm doing really well. I'm really grateful to be here today, Steve, and excited to have this conversation. So doing great. It's a Friday, which makes it even better. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. I've had a full day of conversations in the best way possible, sales opportunities and collaborations that are really exciting for me. And when I was in the corporate world and younger, I I definitely would be watching like the 9 to 5 Monday through Friday schedule. I wasn't ever like living for the weekend, but you I did get to Friday and it was kind of like, well, are we gonna knock off a little early or whatever? And now I don't have that cadence at all. I don't. I mean, I get to Thursday and I think, oh, good, I have 20% of the work week left, and then I could see about the weekend, and I do try to carve out brackets for family time, in the morning and in the evening of business days, quote unquote business days. But most days can be a business day too. And it's like, I love the freedom and I have to watch the constraints sometimes around that. But
Yeah,
I
I
don't
think
know.
it's so interesting that you say that because that's inspirational to me because I feel like I'm still very beholden to the 9 to 5 schedule. Like I still have
Mm,
this guilt, when I'm not working that traditional 9 to 5 that's kind of ingrained in all of us.
mm.
Um, so yeah, that's something I'm still trying to unwind, although I don't get the Sunday scaries anymore. I don't know if you remember that feeling Sunday night where you'd have like the pit in your stomach. I don't get that anymore. Of course, kind of being a self-employed person, you're your own boss, so there's not that dread.
Oh, that's good. Or the dread is always there.
Yes,
It's
yeah,
like, oh no, I'm used to the dread.
yes, exactly.
Oh, that's interesting. So I do find that, and I think this is some sort of echo of just not just corporate life, but school and things. Is that I will get to Friday night and I'll be kind of ready to crash out. I just be like, good night. Like it's 7:30. I don't care. I'm out. So I do notice that I come to the end of the quote unquote work week, and mostly, well, it's just partly that like you have to sometimes work when other people are working, like
Yeah.
calls happen Monday through Friday. So that's when we do calls and things. And those are, those take some emotional energy and intelligence and things that you have to be really on sometimes to work through.
Yeah, for sure. I think that it's interesting how my energy levels kind of fluctuate now, especially kind of since I've moved into more of a CEO role at my firm. And so some of the tasks I'm doing just take a lot more out of me naturally. So sometimes
Hmm.
you naturally have that guilt when you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't get that 8 hour day in and I'm exhausted, but I only worked 4 hours. But you have to
Yeah.
think about like what all of these things you're doing are taking from you.
Hmm. Okay. I want to hear more about that. I'll set it up with a observation from a book I read about, um, that's kind of like business operational systems and things like that. And the author said, you know, if you look at rock stars or musicians or you look at athletes, none of them are playing, none of them are on game day 3 or 4 days in a row. I mean, golf might be the exception. They play a 4 day tournament, but if you watch a basketball season or something, they don't go play 4 games in a row. They have game day and then they have rest day and then they have practice day and then they have another game day. So there's this wave of cadence, which is very different than, okay, you show up Monday at 8, and we basically have you until Friday at 5. This straight block of marathon work is how it felt for me. And unplugging myself from that and allowing myself, like you've mentioned, shame and guilt. And those are, I mean, definitely like powerful words within these workspaces. And not just that, but our incentives also hooked into the way we feel about work and office life and things like that. But it let me rethink my week where, you know what, maybe Sunday evening I do charge kind of hard to get my work week ready, but then come Wednesday morning, I might just totally be off that morning. And Friday, I might power through. And then, Saturday may or may not be a work day, depending on what I need to get done. Um, so I don't know. I don't know how it sounds like you're kind of in the pattern of the 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, but you're exploring different freedoms around that.
Yeah, it's like I really liked all the things you just said. I think for me, it's like sometimes I forget I have the freedom and flexibility. So, one of my fun stories is I was feeling kind of burnt out and in a funk with my work, kind of waking up feeling the dread. And I decided randomly, it was a Wednesday, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do something different. And I took myself to the zoo by myself
Mhm.
and I just watched animals all day. And it was the most fun thing ever. It cost me $20 to get in. I stayed for like 6 hours. And the next day I woke up and I felt great. And like that was kind of all I needed. So just, I think a lot of the listeners here can relate, as a lot of them are self employed people and entrepreneurs, just thinking about ways that maybe you can recharge your battery without, without having to go on the 2 week vacation or having to take a few months of a sabbatical, which that stuff's all great too. But what are those micro adventures that you can kind of take yourself on to get out of the day to day?
Ooh, micro adventures. That's great. You took yourself to the zoo.
It
I
was
love
so
it.
fun. I felt like a 10-year-old in the best way possible.
Right? That's awesome. That's a good vibe to be feeling. It's like I'm feeling young. I'm feeling like I'm gonna
Yes.
go look at a rhinoceros.
Yes.
Just be in wonder is part of that.
Mhm.
The variety of animals. The You said recharge your battery, and I was connecting that to a quote my brother says, which is um a quote from Mario Andretti, actually F1 racer. He said race cars have brakes, so they go faster. And I've said this a number of times, but it's a really interesting interesting observation, especially as F1 has advanced. And now they have like electric batteries that they can recharge during the race. So in certain points of the race, you can reclaim energy. Like when you're braking, and you can't kind of max out that battery, or else you'll kind of lose power. But especially in moments of change, you can't just be all gas and expect to, you know, finesse some corner that requires just a slowdown. And so to go to the zoo one day is lovely. I find 2 o'clock in the afternoon is like my witching hour. Like I
Totally.
will I will need to leave the desk entirely and either exercise, or very rarely, but sometimes like take a little quick siesta, or either that, or I'll eat junk food as a way to like emotionally like soothe myself back into work, which is not the preferred choice. I like the first two choices best. But it was so hard for me when the expectation was, no, you're here all day, and 2 o'clock comes and it's kind of like, oh well, maybe you get 15 minutes to get a coffee or something. And even the coffee is functionally to say, we know this is tiring and boring, but recharge because there's more. And I just not built that way.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I think my energy doesn't flow always in a linear way. And it's really nice to have the flexibility to honor that now. Whereas I think in my corporate world background, I came from a really rigid environment where, like, my boss had to basically dismiss me or they had to leave before I could leave. It was very hierarchical. So, I've also been very mindful in my company to not build that type of organization because that's not how you get the most productive, efficient, output at all. It's way better to offer some sort of flexibility to let people work as they best work.
That's interesting. You said something I won't be able to capture it, but help me say it. You said, my energy doesn't flow linearly. Is that what you
Yeah,
said?
yeah. I don't know
Okay.
if that's a
So
word.
what does, like, what moves linearly? Nothing. Like
No.
air, water, sound. the way birds' wings work. Like nothing really moves linearly. And I have an author I like, Nassim Nicholas Taleb, who points out that smooth things are also fragile. So having to run a marathon is not really ideal for our bodies, and I felt like I was in a marathon of work. And so when you said it that way, like energy doesn't flow linearly either. Heat, nothing flows that way, but
Mhm.
we try to force it into this thing and smooth out the highs and the lows, and then it becomes kind of this fragile work environment.
Totally. Absolutely.
Well, let's get back to the beginning. We just dove into it, Kristen.
Oh,
So
yeah, we went deep.
there's questions I was gonna ask, and then I didn't even really need to. But let's go back to them because I want to hear it, and I think the audience will too. So we do too at the beginning. What's your virtual hug and your shameless plug? So we'll start with the virtual hug, which is tell us somebody or something you're grateful for today.
I'm really grateful for my team at Gradient Accounting. There are certain things that I don't really like to do or can cause undue stress on me in the accounting world. And it's been really great to be able to like source people that it's something that's my weakness is their strength,
Hmm,
and to collaborate in that way. So yeah, I'm grateful for them most days. They're pretty darn awesome.
that's awesome. That's good. It's almost always somebody. I love that question because it's open ended. Like you could have picked money or your Ferrari or whatever. It's always somebody
Oh,
important
that's
to you.
interesting.
Yeah. Actually, I have an idea to go back and clip. I think we're going to be close to 80 episodes when this comes out. And I want to go back and clip them all together and create it's almost market research at this point because it's either their spouse or their significant other or their daughter or their employees or their co-founder. Like it's always that. It's a beautiful thing, a thread through almost every conversation.
That's so cool. So human of us.
Yeah. Yeah. It's never my bank account, although
No,
that's important. We're going to talk
it is
about bank
important, and
accounts.
we will talk about it. Yes.
So tell us your shameless plug. Give us the best sense of what you're doing, what you've built at Gradient.
Yeah. So I'm the founder of Gradient Accounting, and really we focus on lifestyle focused entrepreneurs. So, what that means is people that don't live to work, they work to live. And through that journey, we have actually developed a bit of a niche with therapy practice owners, and really enjoy working with that population, that group, because I really love how they have such a heart for helping people. And I like to be able to partner with them to further their impact, but to make sure that they protect themselves in the process, because I think it's very easy to kind of lose sight of the fact that you're a business. You're in this to make a profit and to pay yourself well, with that like mission to help people at all costs. Um, so we do that through a combination of business advisory. So we're business advisors first, but then of course we also do bookkeeping and bookkeeping and accounting and taxes and tax planning. So we try to be a holistic financial solution and financial partner for someone's kind of business and personal lives.
Okay. I was curious about that because I was on your website and certainly, I mean, you're a CPA. Certainly you can do the CFO hat or the financial, accounting and then planning, but you're also upfront kind of strategic business advisors as somebody coming in who says, maybe I want to be more of a lifestyle business person, but I'm not there yet.
Absolutely, yes. And we have we do that through kind of a we take a different approach to some of that than a lot of accounting firms, and we can talk more about that.
Okay. First, tell me how does somebody know they're in that kind of customer profile or should be like what are the characteristics or the trends that you see with somebody whether they know it or not that make you know
Yeah.
like oh yeah you're a lifestyle business person.
A lot of us are entrepreneurs on accident, right? So you start out with a mission, or you start out, not knowing you wanted to be an entrepreneur. That's kind of a good indication you might be a lifestyle business owner. And then also, a lot of us are not the ones out there raising venture capital, and like pounding down people's doors in the Bay Area. We're bootstrapping our businesses, right? We're using our own money to reinvest in our businesses to grow them.
Hmm. Okay. That's great. And you're this way, I take it.
Yes, for sure. It's
Okay.
my jam.
Okay. Nice. Something in your background that signaled that was maybe the case for me was that you took some time to travel around the world. Could
Yeah,
you talk a little bit about that experience or what it brought you?
absolutely. Yeah, so it was kind of basically it was a kind of a mission to heal some burnout that I was experiencing. So I worked at in a really big accounting firm, Deloitte and Touche, and I thought that when I started working there that this was my life. I was like, this is great. I'll work my way up to partner. This is my dream. And then I started to look at the lives that the partners had, and them putting their children to get to bed on FaceTime every night and things like that. And I realized this is not what I want, but I didn't know what I wanted. So I saved up, me and my then boyfriend, now husband, saved up $30,000. We like, oh my gosh, we just pinched every penny.
Hmm.
And we were like, okay, well, we're going to go travel until the money runs out. And we thought we would come back to jobs like the ones we had left.
And
Um,
that was the goal, like 30,000. We're going to do
yeah,
30,000 and then see.
yes,
Cool.
exactly. No plans. I mean, we were just dumb, honestly. Um, So we traveled to about 20 countries during that time. We had the time of our lives, as you might imagine. But I started to discover freelance work, and I realized, oh my goodness, there are like careers in accounting that I can do remotely wherever I am in the world. And honestly, some of them pay even more or have better benefits than what I've come from. So that kind of led me down this journey of small business accounting and working with founders directly, and then opening up my own firm.
Wow. When did you open up Gradient?
So officially 2018.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, wow. And was it just you at the beginning?
Yes, it was. I hired my first team member pretty quick because I knew that I needed to I needed to get some of the like tasks that I wasn't good at or didn't enjoy off of my plate, so I could spend more time
Yeah.
focusing on sales and kind of getting our client list ramped up.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. And it's a virtual firm now, right? Like
Yeah.
everybody's across wherever they are. Yeah.
Yeah, so we've got 5 team members across the world, which is really
Oh,
cool. It's allowed us to source some really good talent. And the surprising thing is, well, I guess this isn't surprising because honestly, accounting gets a bad rap, but there is a big talent shortage in our industry. So having the ability to source talent from other states and other countries has been a big advantage to us.
oh, really? Okay, I didn't know there was a talent shortage in
Yeah.
accounting. That's interesting. So you're in a great position, um, probably in terms of supply and demand.
Absolutely. And a lot of accountants are retiring too. Um,
Oh, sure.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
especially the
Is that?
accountants that are, the ones that serve small businesses, because
Yeah.
back in the day, the thing with accounting was you would just hang up a shingle and start your own CPA practice. And now it's
Totally.
kind of all consolidated, and there's those big accounting firms, and everyone goes work and works there. So, those of us that are helping out the smaller guys are few and far between these days.
Hmm. Wow. There's probably some kind of like merger and acquisition roll up strategy, but I don't know if that taps into like lifestyle vibes as much as like
Yeah. Yeah.
corporate takeover vibes. But there's probably a lot of people in a lot of these industries that, and we're going to talk a little bit about AI or maybe a lot about AI too, but I see this across the board, like, HVAC companies, it's the same. It's like hung up a shingle and got some local clients and got this expertise. And now I don't have great systems, but I'm looking to retire and I haven't really polished the apple to sell this thing. What do I do? And I'm not getting any younger. So it's that way with marketing firms these days and accounting firms. It sounds like you're in that place where there's a lot of demand for what you do and probably the boomers retiring
Yeah.
giving you some space to do it.
And historically, a lot of the old school or boomer firms weren't great at what we call exit planning. The businesses are still wholly dependent on them. And so
Hmm.
they're in an interesting spot. And so we work with a lot of our clients on helping them think about what their exit's going to be and what they need to do to prepare their businesses.
Yeah.
Including a lot of our therapy practice clients, because sometimes they're not in too different of a boat than maybe these kind of accounting firms where everything's dependent on the one partner.
How did you get into that vein of therapists or practices? Or did you just stumble on it in your customer books one day? You're like, huh, I got 4 of these.
Yeah, just totally that, Steve. And I was like, I like just evaluating what clients we enjoy working with and kind of where some of the common themes are, and realizing, oh, yeah, like
Hmm.
these are our jam and we really enjoy them and we feel like we're good at solving some of the problems that they have.
Hmm. So, without being specific at all, what are some of the problems that a practice might run into? And there's probably 100, but what are some trends that you see?
Definitely scaling and growing a team, right? So going from that solo clinician to bringing on a team and creating a practice, that's a really different way of thinking and behaving. Pricing is a big one. Um, Cash flow is another big one, especially for those practices that do accept insurance and might be beholden to the timelines that insurance has for paying out
Sure.
practitioners. So yeah, it's interesting because you think it's a fairly straightforward business model, but there still are a lot of challenges that therapy practice owners encounter when it comes to their finances. And then I also think sometimes just general financial literacy and tax literacy. I mean, none of us learn any of this stuff in school. So the fundamentals are really important to understand because, again, a lot of us are entrepreneurs by accident. We didn't go to school for this.
Yeah, especially therapists. They don't get trained on most any business acumen, especially financials. And then there's an element sometimes that it's such heartfelt work that there's like some guilt around how much should I pay? Am I gouging the needy? Or, like if I charge too much per hour or something like that.
Right.
And then I haven't fully thought through the cash flow challenges as it relates to payer provider interaction and the delays that probably go into that and the red tape.
It's really difficult. There's a lot of practices kind of moving away from accepting insurance more and more, but it is kind of a bit of a dilemma because they want to serve this population, but at the same time they don't want to be at the mercy of when the insurance is going to get around to paying them and the lower rates that insurance often provides.
Hmm.
So it's hard, and there's no straightforward answer, but a lot of our clients are more closely evaluating what percentage of our client base is self-pay versus insurance, and what insurance providers do we think we like working with versus the ones that we don't. So yeah.
Hmm. Uh, that's that leads into a deeper topic around burnout, which is what you mentioned. Some of this experience, part of what motivated your travels, but it's a hot topic and a hard topic for therapists as well. And financial stress can be a little bit of that, and cash flow and those kinds of things. What are your thoughts about kind of where have you come from with burnout, and how are you kind of caring for yourself and your own personal goals and success, whatever that means for you, and dealing with this concept of burnout that could potentially come up for anyone, really.
Yeah, I think to your point, Steve, with your question, I think it's important to identify what the potential root cause of the burnout is, and that can be, a cocktail of things, right? But I think financial burnout is a real thing. I think a lot of business owners kind of can feel like they're on that hamster wheel with their finances and, robbing from Peter to pay Paul and things like that. And so it's really important um, to recover from that burnout, to have a partner in all of that, right? When you feel like you're alone, it takes a lot longer to face the problems and challenges head on and solve for them. And so having a partner and also creating systems, because with everything in our business, it's 100 times harder if we don't have a system. And the fact that um, people rarely think about their financial systems or have systems for paying themselves and saving for taxes and things like that, that's quite a problem. And that's always going to cause stress until you implement those systems. So we're big on getting that structure in place to help business
Hmm.
owners succeed.
That's
But I
awesome.
think a lot of people can just burn out because of their workload and feeling like so many people are counting on you, and you're kind of keeping all of the balls up in the air, and what if one day you have to let go of them all. And so, I think therapists uniquely struggle with this too, because when they sit down for a session, they have to be so present and so focused and give their all. And so realizing, or being able to be in control with how many patients you see per week is really powerful too, and setting your pricing so that you're not required to see 40 folks per week or whatever that might
Yeah.
be.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even I'm not even contributing to your life in any meaningful way, but just having the opportunity to talk with somebody like you who has so many interesting things to say, and I want to be like a worthy kind of partner in the conversation, and it's being recorded, like that alone has energy that goes into it. And then I can't imagine being in a room with someone where like I probably kind of need to be like a net positive contribution to
Right.
their major life decisions and challenges. That's got to
Right.
be so emotionally taxing. There's also one more tension, if you could speak to it, which is you mentioned sort of the taxes versus paying yourself, but what about like taxes versus like rolling profits or revenue back into the business to grow? Like, how do you guide somebody through that kind of yin yang walk?
Yeah, that's so difficult sometimes. So, because we get so many mixed messages as entrepreneurs with what we should do with our profits. And there is a sense of guilt of like taking my profits instead of putting them back and reinvesting in the business, right? It's a bit of a buzzword. But I'm big on pay yourself first and take care of
Hmm.
yourself financially first before you put a dollar back into your business. And honestly, I also think if you're going to reinvest, there needs to be an ROI. You need to have a really well thought out reason to why you need to reinvest in your business. Because for a lot of our clients, they're reinvesting in things that maybe aren't going to produce an ROI in the future, maybe are just things that they feel like they should do,
Hmm.
not things that they need to do. So we try to get our clients to think critically about the thought of reinvesting. And we really like when our clients take out most of their profits and put it in a retirement account or use
Okay.
it to take their family on vacation. That's the stuff that fires us up.
Hmm. What other trends do you see when it comes to like people and the way they're kind of thinking about financing and whatever version of the American dream or their own personal dream? Like, what do you kind of see people thinking about differently than maybe we did 10 or 20 years ago?
That's a great question. I feel like debt is a big one.
Yeah,
I think people are becoming less comfortable with debt and less comfortable with credit cards and thinking more critically about kind of some of the consumerism that our society might try to have us
sure.
believe is the norm, and it doesn't have to be, right? So living within your means and really thinking critically before taking on debt is a trend that I'm seeing go in a positive direction.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I saw a Wall Street Journal article this week, or it came across my radar this week that people aren't moving very much anymore.
Yeah.
They're not crossing state lines. They're not even moving across town anymore. It's fascinating. Like there's some macro trends of the way people are just thinking differently about their futures or something.
Yeah, it's interesting because I do wonder how much of that is because of kind of some of the current economic environment factors that we're dealing with, like high interest rates and high, prices of homes, versus how much of it is something else.
And this is where I get out of my depth pretty quickly, but I also am curious if there are government incentives to have friction for people to kind of stay in one place. Like if I was the government, I would kind of want to know where everybody is. And there's lots of ways we see them doing that with technology. It's very obvious. And so there's probably like a lot of economic and tax and voter base reasons to kind of keep people where they are, which is an odd idea for me, but I
Yeah,
don't know.
so interesting. Yeah, I mean, I will say, like, a lot of the behavior that the government wants to see, they incentivize through the tax code, right? So we've got this new tax bill that's come up, and so there are just interesting things in there. And yeah,
What's an interesting thing in there? I have
well,
not read it.
I think one
You can
interesting,
we can edit this later if it gets too like political or something. I
no,
want you
I
to feel
mean,
comfortable.
I think one interesting thing is brought back this concept of bonus depreciation. So, what it was doing was it was incentivizing business owners to buy something expensive because you can depreciate it 100% in the first year. So, a
Yeah.
lot of business owners were buying a car at the very end of the year
Yep.
and depreciating that 100% that year. So you can imagine how big of a tax write off that is. So that was supposed to phase out and they've brought it back. So now, everyone can go out and get that nice new Ford F 150 the last day of the year and write 100% of it off. So just interesting things like that.
That's interesting. A long time ago, I worked for a company that was selling like steel structures, and there was like a couple buyers. One was like car wash manufacturers, and another was car collectors. Like if you have 50 Ferraris and you need it in some place. And what was interesting about the system is that it was a structure, but it could technically be unbolted and moved if
Mm,
you really wanted. I mean, you'd really have to do something about it, but you could unbolt the whole thing and put it up somewhere else. So the government and the tax code looked at it as equipment. So these people could write it down instead of 7 or 3 years or something
yeah,
in 1 year. So they would
yeah.
build one, write the whole thing off, and then go build another one and write it off, and then just stamp and repeat like 10 or 12 locations. It was wild.
Fascinating. Tax stuff is so interesting.
Yeah. And the whole tax code, people say, is, and I don't know if this is like tongue in cheek or sarcastic or whatever, but like the most of the tax code is to help you figure out how to not pay so much taxes if you really look at it.
Honestly, I mean, a lot of the reason why it's so complex is because of that, right? Because if we just had a simple tax code, there wouldn't really be all of these
Yeah.
loopholes. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
there's this moat that once you get over the moat and the complexity, and you can really, like, somebody like you could probably help, somebody like me navigate all sorts of things I don't know
yeah,
in meaningful, beneficial ways.
absolutely. And we tried to for sure.
Nice. Well, from your lived experience, go back a little bit to maybe somebody in your shoes who is in the 9 to 5 corporate gig. Like if you sat down with them, if you were their therapist, no, if you were their life coach, um, this is not mental health advice. What would you tell them, like in terms of like how to think about it if they do want to make that $30,000 world travel move, or just simply extract themselves from that race?
Yeah, I feel like I'm big on setting a life vision and breaking that down into goals. And I think so many people are stuck in the day to day and don't realize that, they can dictate their fate to an extent, right? There are so many things that are outside of our control. But with intention, you can dictate a lot of what your day to day looks like over time. So, what I do, and this is so nerdy, but every quarter I do a full goal setting process. So I'll revisit my 10-year vision and then I do a
Yeah.
3-year vision where I kind of write down some big, audacious things that I want my life to look like. But then that gives me a lot of clarity when I'm setting my 3-month goals because I know, okay, I have to get from here to there in 3 years. So what do I need to do next to get me there? So there's a lot of kind of logic and step by step action plans that can be put to all of this stuff that feels very out of reach.
Oh, interesting. So you take a 10-year vision and then you break it down into shorter and shorter time frames, or
Yes.
until you can kind of break it into what's actionable next for you over the next 90 days or something.
Yes. And it's so
Okay.
funny because I do think there's a personality aspect of this, right? Like my husband, the thought of that just gives him the heebie-jeebies. Like he is not that type of person. But I do think he's taken some inspiration from my process and maybe taken a little bit of that and added it into his day-to-day life. And I've probably taken a lot of inspiration from the fact that he's so type B and go with the flow too. So, yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. Which means you're type A.
Yes, unfortunately.
I don't know. Every mountain has a shadow for sure, but
That's
it's a
right.
great. There's a lot of strength and power to being a Type A person, in terms of what you get done. Okay, so as we kind of wrap up, I want to help people find you online. First of all, where do they go to find you? Where do you like to be on LinkedIn or Twitter? Where are you?
Yeah. Well, my website is gradientaccounting.com. And if you might be looking for a new accountant or business advisor, we have a client interest form there. But also, I have a freebie for any therapy practice owners. So if you go to gradientaccounting.com/therapist, you can download our 3-minute pricing checkup tool. So you'll enter in a few inputs about your practice, and it will basically help you determine if you might be overpricing or underpricing based on your goals and how much income you want to take home. So I'm really excited about that
Oh,
tool. Yeah,
that's
it's
great.
quite cool. Um, and then social media, we are on Instagram. My handle is at traveling CPA chick. And then LinkedIn, I'm Kristin Meador.
Okay, the traveling. That's interesting. Do you do a lot of traveling still?
Yes, I am
Okay.
gone probably 4 months of the year international.
Oh, amazing.
I love
Oh,
it.
amazing. Where
I
are you
can't
going
stop.
next?
I'm going to Scotland and Italy in
Cool.
September and October. So coming up really
Okay.
soon.
Oh, exciting. Oh man,
Yeah,
that sounds great.
I'm telling you.
Um, that's that. Yeah, I love international travel. It's been a little while, so it'd be great to get back to that soon. But Scotland and Italy in the same trip.
Yes.
Oh, cool.
It's going to be an interesting flight from Edinburgh to Bari, Italy. It's like 4 hours on Ryanair, which is kind of that budgety airline, which is like the only one that flies that route. So I don't think many people do that.
Well, safe travels.
Thank you.
um, tell us, if you have one, your boost. Like, what's something you're doing, kind of for yourself, your own mental health or wellness, or just yourself as a human. Maybe something recent you're trying. I don't know. Is there anything that anything comes to mind there?
Yeah, for sure. I've definitely, since working with a lot of therapy practice owners, I've taken my own mental health a lot more seriously and, really believe in the power of therapy. And I'm personally doing a lot more meditation also. So I've been doing a lot of guided meditations a couple times a week. And that's the guided is kind of what I need right now. Maybe eventually I'll be able to go without a guide, but I'm enjoying that a lot.
Awesome. Nice. I'm glad to hear it. That it's working for you. Last question is, one of my favorites because it's so interesting. Is I always love to hear what people are reading or listening to. Is there like a book or a new album that's coming out, or that you just got, or a podcast, a movie? Is there something you've been into lately or want to get into?
Well, I really love to read, and one of my new favorite authors, I just discovered him, but I'm sure y'all are like, oh, yeah, we've known about him for years, is Matt Haig and his book, The Midnight Library. And all of his books are very thought provoking. They're easy reads. He's a great writer, but it makes you think very deeply about big life stuff. And it all kind of ends on a positive and very inspirational note. So I highly recommend his work.
I love books, but I haven't read him yet, so I'm
Yes, I think you'd
putting that
like
on my
it,
list.
Steve, for sure.
Nice. I'm glad you mentioned him. Well, Kristen, thanks for being on the Boost. It's great to talk with you. It sounds like you're doing really great, influential work for therapists and lots of people who are interested in kind of escaping the corporate race maybe and getting into this lifestyle business, even if they're accidental entrepreneurs, it sounds like.
Absolutely.
So wish you the best with Gradient, and thanks for being on.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you for having me.
All right, till next time.